This is the Houndsman XP Podcast.
Good dog, get that bear. Get that bear in
The
here.
original podcast for the complete Houndsman.
Look at your coat of golf, Justin Heights. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him.
The podcast that represents our lifestyle of extreme performance.
Get him there. Get him. Get him. Yeah, good boy. Good boy, Ranger.
Uniting houndsmen across the globe from east to west, north to south.
You know, if you're going to catch a cat or a lion, you know, you have to have teamwork.
We take you to the wildest places on earth.
Yeah, so how many days a week you spend out there?
As much as I can, to be honest with you. Anytime that I get, I'm out there.
Join us for every heart-pounding adventure on Houndsman XP.
I'll tell you like I tell everyone else, I'm going to hunt whether you're here or not, so you might as well be here.
All right, folks, get out the crying towels and everything. Bryce and Basham, Steve Basham, are they're leaving the Houndsman XP Podcast Network and going their own way. They've got great plans in store, and I'm particularly fond of the name that you chose, Semper Doggin, because Bryce, you might be partners with Basham, but me and Basham are brothers.
There you go.
Right. I will never be in that brotherhood.
That's right.
No, sir.
Oh, there's still time, Bryce. They take
There is.
Wait, how old are you?
29.
He can do it.
Oh, I might have to send him the old former recruiter, inspiration and get
That
him.
would be awesome. Seeing Bryce standing in the yellow footprints at 29 years old.
Let me tell you something. So, our oldest girl, she just got back from her first weekend at drill this weekend. She joined the Army National Guard, and she had her first weekend at drill. And she come back and she said that she literally has a private pile in her group. I do not want to be the private pile of the group.
Private pile was a Marine, so there can't be a private pile in the Army National Guard.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking about.
I would want to see Bryce shaved face.
Oh
with
yeah,
high and tight.
Yep.
Yep.
You think he'd make the PCP platoon?
Oh, definitely.
100%. He'd get recycled after first phase. We had guys in boot camp. That had been there like for 6 months. They just kept getting recycled and trying to pass their physical fitness tests and stuff.
Hey, you got to give it to them. They never quit.
Oh yeah, you got that right. Yeah.
That's
Some
rough.
of them were just hanging out there until they kicked them out, though, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, hey, seriously, all joking aside, just a little fun, get a couple jarheads together, and we just can't stop. So, Semper Doggin is moving on to your own network. You guys are doing your own thing. Hate to see you guys go, but I just kind of felt like, man, you guys can do this on your own with everything that you got planned. I mean, a lot of conversations with you, Bryce, and knowing what you got going on, and definitely no need to hold you back.
Yeah, man, it's been great. I can't thank you and the Houndsman XP team enough for what you did for me, as far as the Deep and Lonely show went, and the connections that we had, especially on the group chat, the HXP rejects. I mean, it's so much fun. Just the whole team, the backside of Houndsman XP. It really is a big family, and it was a blast, and the Deep and Lonely show was good. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the time that I spent with that show. But I kind of just wanted to do a little bit more than the competition coonhounds. My heart has been pulling me towards more dogs lately. And that sounds weird, but I'm really getting into different types of hunting lately.
You've been slobbering over Seth's videos and stuff.
I have. I'm telling you, man, these greyhounds right now, I'm on a greyhound kick. It's been so much fun. I've been coyote hunting greyhounds like crazy lately.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, Bryce
Mickey needs to watch out. He's going to follow Dalton Hilliard's plan and have about 60 dogs in the backyard.
I don't think so.
You're gonna have to empty out the Longhorn pasture and just start having swivels out there for dogs.
There we go.
On blue barrels.
I could do it. I mean, if I took the whole pasture, got rid of all the Longhorns, I bet we could fit a substantial amount of dogs out there.
Oh yeah.
You could have a greyhound breeding facility. There you go, Bryce.
We're getting out of control.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Bryce, you did a lot of good work for us at Houndsman XP. I can't thank you enough for what you did for us. Stepping in there and you brought it. Man, I'll tell you, I always enjoy listening to the Deep and Lonely podcast. Your energy, the things that you did with, different guests, and the way you just brought a different flavor to the whole Houndsman XP team. And so we'll get the love fest over at that point, I guess. But, I really do. I'm serious. I really enjoy and really appreciate what you did for us at Houndsman XP.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was a good time. But
yeah. So tell me where you guys are going with. I mean, tell me what you're doing with Semper Doggin, where you're at, what you're doing, and let's just lean into that a little bit.
Well, I'm going to let Basham take that for the majority of the part. I'll say that Semper Doggin was his baby. That is his brainchild, and I'll let him get into that. Really the only place that I come into this picture is the podcast and being able to take his idea and share it to the masses. So this is Basham's baby. We've been buddies for a long time, and I thought he had a great idea, and I really believed in what he was doing. So this was the way that I could help out, was just to try and get his idea and his message out there to the public.
Well, everybody knows, Bryce, you're a coon hunter. You've had a lot of great success in a relatively short amount of time. You've racked up some big wins there. Some of them were with Basham's dogs, and I know that much. But Steve, give us a little bit of, before we dive into the Semper Doggin brainchild here. Let's give us some background on who you are and where you came from, because you kind of came out of nowhere here for the podcast world anyway.
Yeah, so kind of just a little bit about me. We'll keep it kind of down and dirty and simple. I've been coon hunting since I was 4 or 5 years old. My dad got me into it. His uncles got him into it, and it was kind of like a family tradition type thing. I mean, when I tell you that me and my dad were ate up with coon hunting, I mean, we were the type that had 12 or 13 barrels over the hills with, back then you didn't have kennels.
No.
You just had barrels with log chains.
Right.
And, I mean, it started all the way back then, just 12, 13 dogs. Every Sunday we'd go to Hardinsburg, Kentucky. Randall Brewington was a big dog trader, and he would have, hot dogs and hamburgers and, just the whole festivities. They'd have guys up there selling knives, and it was just the trade days every Sunday. And that's where we went every Sunday afternoon. We'd go up there, and he'd tell us, he'd say, go out there, and he'd say, pick you a dog out, come back in here and flip through these pages and tell me which papers you want.
And hopefully they're matched up in color.
Who knew? So, every Sunday we'd do that, and that was a good time, spending with my father. And we trained rabbit dogs and squirrel dogs and duck dogs, and we had Labrador retrievers. And I mean, just if it had a dog behind it, we did it. And so that really got me into the training the dog facet of it. Nothing, when it comes to actually being educated, it was nothing educated. It was just two country boys doing what they loved. Most of the time, whenever I spent time with my father, it was time in the woods. We'd fight like cats and dogs at the house. And as soon as the sun goes down, we'd load dogs up and we'd be best friends in the woods. And, that carried true for me. When I'd have issues in my life, or I'd feel like, life was dealing me a bad deck of cards, I always had the dogs to kind of rely on. And where it came even more fruition for me is I joined the Marine Corps. And I did my first 4 years. I did 3 deployments overseas in Iraq. Ended up getting out. I spent the whole time in California, so I wasn't able to coon hunt. Actually, then I had taken up horses, and because I was at Pendleton. And so I spent all of my time at the horse stables, riding horses, teaching or taking trail rides out, just everything to do with horses. And I ended up getting out of the Marine Corps, went overseas for a contractor called KBR, spent 14 months over there, and actually got recalled. Yeah. Recalled. Yeah. But I was smart enough that at the time they were having sign-on bonuses for anybody that joined. So I had 8 months to get recalled. So instead of getting recalled, I came back to the States, went to the recruiting office and signed up so that I could get the sign-on bonus. So
did you have to go through boot camp again?
No.
Yeah.
No, because I'd only been out 14 months, 15 months. And so
did you just slide right back into your MOS?
Yep. Slid right back in my MOS, which was actually just motor T. Motor transportation is what I was. So I went right back in. I actually went to second tanks in Camp Lejeune after that. I had a buddy that had just came from 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, and he knew the executive officer over there, the XO. And so we kind of went behind our commands back and went to the other one and said, hey, man, y'all are looking for some good motor T NCOs. Like, we want to deploy, blah, 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 blah. And we ended up recruiting ourselves over to 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines.
Yeah.
Well, I started teaching, started getting my role in as staff NCOIC of motor transportation of a, infantry unit. And it came down the pipe that they were looking for an officer to fill a role of kennel master. And what they were doing is the Marine Corps had created a program called the IDD Detector Dog. And they were taking Labrador retrievers, field champion bird dogs, hand and arm signals, the drill with all of the field trials that you have and the hand and arm signals that go along with it. And so right then and there, I was like, man, this is my calling,
Right.
It fits right into my wheelhouse. So I went to the XO, who I was real good buddies with, and really sold it to him. And he said, man, they're really pushing for an officer to be the kennel master. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And so finally they sent me to K2 Solutions in North Carolina for 9 months to learn the ways of the dog, how to train the dog, how to train people, the whole 9 yards. And so that's all I did. I ended up deploying. I had 64 bomb dog teams overseas. Ran a 13-month deployment over there. We found or confirmed over 119 IEDs in that time. So that's where it really evolved into a more of a love affair for just being a dog man versus, most of my life it was coon hunting.
Right.
And then it really simplified things whenever this dog wasn't just a sport. This dog was literally saving my life, saving other people's lives. The days that me and Bryce talked about it with a girl on the last podcast that we just recorded. And, she was talking about how dogs can literally uplift you in every aspect of life. And that's what my bomb dog was, when I'd have a rough day or we'd have a rough patrol or whatever, I'd come back and boom, there's my dog. And so to make this story a little shorter, this past year, I was kind of hunting dogs for the public, and I wanted to have something to give back to the people that I was hunting dogs for. And I'd went through many different names, trying to come up with a kennel name, Dottie. And so what kept sticking was do something that means something to you. And the Marine Corps means everything to me. So, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. That rings true in every aspect of my life. So I really thought about it and really pushed. And, it took me a while because you know how it works. Even with the Houndsman XP, how many names did you come up with before Houndsman really stuck?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, probably Dogsman, Dog 101, something about a dog.
Right.
All these names come through.
People
and
still don't know what the XP stands for. Basham.
What does it?
Extreme Performance.
There you go.
Yep.
Yep.
Houndsman XP.
How long did it actually take you to stick to that name?
Yeah, it's kind of, I really couldn't tell you because it was the whole project was probably over a year, in progress. And then it's just like anything. Once you know what you're looking for, and once you hit it, it's just like, boom, that's it. You see it, you can visualize it and everything. So,
and that's what happened with me. I was bouncing between ideas, and something just kept bringing me back to Semper. And then it just stuck. Semper Doggin. I'm always dogging. The Marine Corps played, and I ain't going to get into it on this podcast. Marine Corps played a vital part in my life. Without the Marine Corps, I'd probably be in prison or somewhere else. I was headed down a bad road when the Marine Corps came. So that's kind of who I am. I've had great success on the higher levels. I've placed higher, high up in the UKC world. I've placed high up in the Super Stakes and the PKC world, and I've won my share. But what means more to me than anything is honestly just the friendship and the camaraderie that I've found in the other people in our sport. And so when I created this, it was Semper Doggin, and it just started honestly as a way that I could give a hat and a shirt back to somebody that I hunted their dog for a month.
Right.
And so from there, I started doing what I called Doggin Tuesdays. And it was just a Facebook Live where I could get on Facebook and we still do that every other Tuesday, where I just get on there and I just interact with the viewers and, just more of a BS type thing, nothing formal or, just where we talk and goof, and person to person, I'd bring people on. And me and Bryce have been friends for a while, and Bryce really hounded me, saying, man, I think that could be bigger. And, fast forward, not getting through all the weeds, but fast forwarding it, here we are today. And we've joined forces, and we're going to step out and see what the world has to offer for us.
Yeah, you covered a lot of ground there, man. I got a lot of back questions from
go ahead.
So you remember?
You should have just told him to pump the brakes.
Huh? No, I like letting people spill it all out there, and then going back and touch on the different parts of it. But you remember the days of the old trade days when I grew up coon hunting? Hunts are a lot different now. Competition coon hunting is so much different now.
It's different
than when I was a kid. You had to get to the club. I remember going to Ace Coon Club in Morgantown, Indiana. And if you didn't get there 2 hours before, you were walking a quarter mile up Peavine Road to get to the clubhouse because the place would be full. It was just an event. And I'm not saying it's better or worse or whatever, but that's what made me. You would go to Sugar Creek Coon Club in Hope, Indiana, and if you got lucky, you got to park in the actual parking lot. But people were there doing drag races and water races and all this. It was a community event, and there were people showed up that didn't even have dogs. It just came out to watch.
Yep.
And somewhere along the line, we've kind of lost some of that, and I always joke, PKC crowd, a lot of guys are calling in asking them, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late. Can you extend the deadline?
Yep.
And
no, you're right.
And it's lost some of that deal. When I first went to, like back in the day, the breed days were huge, and you go and you camp and do everything. And then you go to PKC breed days and you don't see anybody until it's deadline time, and they show up. Yep. And I think PKC has changed some of that with their World Hunt and their Super Stakes. There's a lot more people hanging around the grounds and swapping stories and doing all that stuff. But man, that's back in those days. That's where you got those characters. I mean, those guys that were. You had guys playing guitars. You had guys whittling outside the clubhouse under the shade tree and telling stories, and it meant a lot to me. And I
the
like
simplicity of it. The simplicity of it, you know. And I'll go ahead and tell you, it's gotten worse. You know, for me, it's gotten worse because you're 100% correct. And me and Bryce talked about it on one of our first podcasts. Was just. Man, I was raised in a different era. You know, whenever we'd go to a UKC hunt, it was an all-day affair on Saturdays. You'd have your field trial, then you'd have the rolling cage, which was my favorite one. For those listeners that don't know what a roll cage contest is, you put a coon in a roll cage in the center of a circle, and you turn the dog loose from outside the circle, and the dog that could get the cage out of the circle the fastest won. And that was probably my favorite event, because you'd have dogs flying in there, hitting that roll cage and knocking it out. And then you turn around, you'd have the treeing contest, you'd have the bench show, you'd have the night hunt. And I mean, it was an all-day event. We'd have more people show up to a club hunt, not a licensed hunt.
I'm with you, man.
We'd have 50, 60 dogs show up to a club hunt, and then you turn around the next night and have, you know, a UKC hunt, and you draw 15 or 16. So you draw 3 times as many at a club hunt than you would an actual, you know, UKC event.
I never got to experience that. I have never experienced that, and I hate that. Like, when I didn't start hunting until 9 years ago, and I feel like it was gone before then. Honestly, at least the local ones that I went to.
It was.
You know, I never got to experience that. The closest thing that I can remember to anything like that is growing up in North Carolina and running deer dogs with my granddaddy. And you'd show up there, and everybody would just kind of chew the fat while they were drawing stands, or who was gonna stand where. And then everybody else that had the dogs, your drivers, you know, we all came up with a plan. You kind of have 2 segregations of people. You had the drivers over on one side, you had the standers in the other. You know, and that was it. And, you know, there was an old guy who had almost like an old cooler in the back of his truck, and he'd break out Vienna sausages, peanut butter crackers, and a bottle of Coke or something, you know, and you can go over there and give him $1 and you can get whatever you wanted from him. Right. But that's the only thing I remember is the deer dog side of things. I never got to experience the coon club feel and atmosphere. So I wish I could have.
You know what app I use on my phone more than any other app besides the podcast app to listen to this here podcast? I use onX. onX Maps is the most comprehensive mapping system for hunters on the market today. I use it all the time. When I was in New Mexico, I was looking at 40,000 acres of ranch that I needed to learn. I flip open onX and just start studying the map. When I'm riding trails, I put the tracking app on. It helps me get around in strange country. I could mark water sources, food sources, bear sign, just all kinds of options within onX. You need to check out onX Maps by going to houndsmanxp.com. Click on the link on our sponsor page. You'll go right to onX Maps, and when you check out, enter the code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your order. Know where you stand with onX. The Houndsman XP podcast only endorses products that we would use ourselves, and I do use Elite Nutrition supplements. Elite Nutrition offers supplements for your horses, your mules, your dogs, and even you. These all-natural products work with your dog's natural immune system and its normal, natural body function, not to treat symptoms, but to fix problems. Stop pumping pharmaceutical toxins into yourself or your dogs and start using these all-natural products that work with the perfect system that God gave you. Go to tryelitenutrition.com and check out their products for wound care, prebiotic, probiotic, puppy stuff. It's all there. Parasite control. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. We used to have guys go to Jamestown, Tennessee, down there, the OMCBA hunts. You'd have the spring hunt, you'd have the world hunt, you have the fall roundup and stuff. But there were two guys that would set up outside the club, and all they did was sit there and whittle. I mean, they had big, long pieces of cedar, and they could take that knife, they'd take that case trapper and just try to peel off that right in the grain, just peel off that one long strip. And by the end of the weekend, they started with these different pieces of cedar, and they'd have a pile of cedar shavings around them. And you had, what was that guy's name? His first name, Daniel. He's older now, but him and his dad, best banjo player I've ever heard in my life was, oh shoot, I'm gonna embarrass myself here not thinking of his name, but he was just a kid at the time. He's like 10 years old. And this kid was playing full-blown bluegrass music and just drawing a crowd. And there were people camped, and there were a lot of stuff going on that was a lot of fun. And same thing happened at Walker Days. I remember when I was 16 years old. Walker Days was in Columbus, Indiana, and bought a puppy that was a direct daughter off of Timothy Ball's Hickory Nut Harry dog.
Yep.
And there were just people sitting around telling stories and different stuff. It's just the age we live in. Everybody's in a hurry now.
Yep, definitely. And Bryce, to kind of caveat off of that, there's still clubs, and we'll find one. We'll get you to one. I know there's one in North Carolina. It's out towards Hickory, North Carolina. They hold a July 4th event out there, and it's still real big. Like I don't think they have the night hunt or the bench show, but I think they do all the other. I think they do like drag race, they do water race, they do field, different style of field trial. They do the road cage, and they do a treeing contest, and it's like an all-day event. And we may pack up and head out there one year.
That'd be a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, because the closest thing to that for me right now is Autumn Oaks. I go to Autumn Oaks every year, and I camp for the week, but I really miss a lot of the Autumn Oaks experience because, well, I guess Monday or Sunday through Wednesday it's fun. It's camping, it's hanging out, it's camaraderie, it's just hanging out with everybody. But come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm working like a dog all day long at the booth for somebody, doing something, and then I'm hunting. And I just feel like I miss out on a lot of the
you definitely
camaraderie
have.
There.
This year will definitely be for me, will definitely be a walk in the park and a lot of relaxation come Autumn Oaks.
Yep.
Yeah, you bet. So, all right. So you talked about the old time, get-togethers we did. But all right. So you talked about your service in the Marine Corps and working with those Labradors. One thing that I know Heath Hyatt is trying to do this, finding those transferable skills from, police dogs to dog behavior and then applying it to hounds. How have you found, after going through all of that training that you went through, how have you transferred that over, and what have you seen in transferring some of that dog behavior training and all that stuff into your hounds?
I think it's just in reality, all it is looking at yourself in the mirror, being true to yourself and being true to the dog. It's so simple that it's mind blowing. It really is. You do something to a dog, watching its reaction that your training style has on that dog, and determining whether it's positive or negative. Is it giving you the result that you want? And that's really, honest and truly, Chris, that's really the number one thing that I took was in my failures as a dog trainer before doing the bomb dog stuff. It was myself. It was, I wanted a dog to do what I wanted it to do. It didn't matter that my training style wasn't working for that dog. Yeah. So I think what really I learned more than anything is every single dog is different. Every single dog needs a different training mentality.
Right.
And really, it never ends. I'm always learning. Every single dog that I get here teaches me something new. And if you don't have an open mind to training dogs, you're never going to fully understand, and you're never really fully going to accept or respect the dogs in general. Because, I can go out here. It's the same thing with the bomb dogs, especially with the bomb dogs. So, here we try to hide the dog's faults.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, you hide a fault, you're dead.
Right.
You hide a fault, your buddy's dead. You hide a fault, your whole platoon's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about being honest. Like, how good is your dog? What are your dog? Like, it makes you hone in and makes you really pay attention to, hey, when my dog's tail goes left and right, hey, it's just looking. Oh, wait, now it stops and it's doing a circle. Oh, it's found something. Oh, wait, it's going left to right, but it's showing that it's got an IED. It's lying to me. It just wants its toy. So It really makes you hone in and pay attention to the result that you're getting from your training.
Yeah. Heath and I have tried to talk about that several times on the podcast and talk about when you can observe a dog behavior, when you spend that much time behind a dog from 15 feet away, you really get to understand what your dog is telling you. When he's 800 and you're looking at a Garmin, you're trying to assume what the dog is doing.
Yes.
And I'll just put it out there. I mean, when I started, I'd spent my whole life hunting dogs. I'd spent my whole life training dogs. And when I went to canine handler school, it was like a light bulb went off in my head.
Yep.
I mean, it was that apparent. It's like, holy cow, this is how a dog learns.
And you didn't know nothing. You're looking at yourself in the mirror saying, I thought I knew.
The only thing was there were some things that was like, oh yeah, I've seen that when I was training these dogs.
Yep.
But it totally changed the way that I looked at dog training and dog behavior. Everything from allomimetic behavior and how to reward a dog and how to scruffing a puppy, whatever it is, correcting bad behavior. And I see a lot of houndsmen that are really good with the type of dog that fits their personality. And the shortcoming for a lot of people is that we want to try to take that dog and mold it into our personality instead of adapting to what that dog needs to be successful.
Yes. It's finding the best version of that dog. No two dogs are the same, and no two dogs have the same. It's kind of like, you're talking about baseball, not everybody's as athletic, but the best coaches get the best out of their role players, not their star players.
Right.
Your best teams are because the role players find their roles. And that's the same way with dog training. Not every dog's a superstar, but finding the role that dog fits into. What is the best version of that dog? And being honest with yourself. That's when you really turn into a houndsman, is when you can identify those attributes.
That's a great example right there. You remember Ozzie Smith that played for the St. Louis Cardinals? Who else played with Ozzie Smith?
I'm not a huge baseball fan.
But you know who Ozzie Smith was, right?
Oh, 100% I did.
And how many World Series did they win? Ozzie wasn't playing all the positions.
No, they won 3, 4.
Yeah,
4.
I mean,
Like I'm a history buff. Other than I wasn't a huge follower. I'm probably more now than I ever have been with baseball, just because I was a big baseball player. I was good in high school. Got offers for scholarships, but I was never one to watch it. But
the point is, we all know who Ozzie Smith is.
Yep.
If you were from that era, we can't name who else played with him, but the fact that they won, and that means that the utility players, the people behind him,
sir.
The coach found all those different pieces and put them together. I mean, if you're a diehard Cardinals fan, you know who the
you know who they are.
But
that's like if you watch Moneyball. Have you ever seen the Moneyball?
Yeah.
I know you have.
Yeah.
It's the same
That's a
thing.
great
They went
movie.
out and got the cheapest players they could find, but what did they do? They focused on the analytics and they found the people that fit their system, and it worked.
So how does that transfer back over to our dogs and our hounds?
So it transfers over to our dogs in that you really have to find out, what is the dog good at? Focus on what that dog's good at and transfer that over to what he's bad at. So basically, where it comes into, say, coonhound hunting, right, is, hey, he's not a real accurate dog, okay, but he's got good hunt. He's got, good speed ability. He's looking to get treed. Well, people don't realize that you've got to have different, just like in, say, racing, you got to have different tough levels. You're playing Madden football on TV, and you don't just start out at all Madden. You'll start out at rookie, then you'll go to pro, then you'll go all Madden, then you might have to go back to pro for a little bit. Well, it's the same way with these woods that we hunt. I've got spots where I can go in and, man, I can put up 6 or 7 in 300 yards,
Yeah.
and then I've got ones where it's, hey, good luck, go tree one. And so being able to manage your difficulty level with your dog. Hey, I'm going to take him to a spot where he doesn't have to try very hard, and he's going to tree a few. And we keep rotating from there to hard ones. And sooner or later, their percentage will go from 40 to, ooh, wow, we're up to 48%. Oh, man, we're up to 54%. And you just start seeing it climb. It's the same way with that baseball player sitting in that freaking batting cage and just swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging. At first he starts swinging at those slower pitches, and then he starts swinging at those faster pitches. And it's the same way with the hounds. I have people all the time, because I used to train obedience dogs, and they say, man, I really want to teach my dog how to sit, roll over, and shake hands. And I tell them all, I can train a dog in no time. The problem is training the handler.
That's right.
Because as humans, we are so inconsistent. Our minds are lazy. We get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh man, today's the one day that I get to sleep in, not thinking that you've got a 4-legged dog that needs to go out and use the bathroom. So at 7:30, when he pees on the door, you get mad at him because you say, oh, he knows better than to pee in the house. Well, he's also used to you getting up at 6 o'clock and taking him out to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And so we blame that on the dog, when in reality, it's our failures.
So is that kind of what you guys are wanting to do with the Semper Doggin podcast? I mean, take that deeper dive.
Oh, yes.
Into uncovering all the different dog behaviors.
So it's not just that for me. Bryce will tell you that me and him are pipe dreamers. I mean, if you said here, if we actually talked into what my outlook on Semper Doggin would be, it would be all the way to having boarding in obedience schools, 100%, all the way. I mean, that deep into it. Well, if all it ever turns out to be is two buddies sitting here shooting the bull, documenting the stories of old, for our kids and our grandkids, and for everybody to just build that camaraderie, what we talked about, then so be it. That's all it turns out to be. But am I going to push for it to be something that I never thought it could be? Absolutely.
Yeah. And then for me, like whenever I saw the vision in talking to Basham, it's like, I like to venture out. I like to experience other things. And while I love coon hunting, I absolutely love it. Like Basham said earlier, I like the camaraderie more than anything. And I'm finding that, diving into some different breeds of dogs, there's like different silos of people, and getting to know the people inside of those silos is so interesting. Just the way that somebody can be ingrained in a South African Boerboel. And I didn't know what that dog was until about 2 weeks ago. But there is a society of people who that is what they live for, is these giant 200-pound protection dogs.
They are huge.
Like, they're massive. I didn't know that. But guess what? I sat and talked to the lady at her house who's a kennel, doing it through work, and found out about this whole breed that I had no idea of. And I had no idea that there's a convention going on an hour down the road from me next month. So guess where I'm going to go next month?
Yeah,
I'm going to this convention. I'm going to go learn about these dogs. Like that is what it is for me. Like Semper Doggin is always dogging. And that's not always just doing the things that you that you are passionate about, but it's about learning about other breeds, other disciplines, and the people that go with them. Because the people side of things is great for me.
That's one of the things that keeps me rolling. You know, I know that, I mean, that once you step outside of competition coon hunting or the lion hunting or the bear hunting with a title like Houndsman XP, then people are like, oh, that doesn't interest me. But for me, just like you said, when you start looking into all those different silos and you see that there's a lot of different things in the world and you bring those all together for something, that's the same thing that interests me. You know, I want to know about terriers. I want to know about stag hounds. I want to know all of it, you know, because that's where it all started. And that's just an amazing part of doing what we do.
Yeah,
being
you're right.
able to have that exposure.
Yeah.
What really hit me on all of that, Bryce, was when you took me down to see Heath on that bear hunt.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the way the UKC world used to be was what I seen in Heath and all of his buddies. Like, what did I tell you that week? Like, this is awesome. I mean, you've got, Greg and his groups up on top of the mountain and Heath and his groups coming up from the side of the mountain and and just the talk and the excitement on people's in people's voices on the radio, and hey, I'm going to run down and try to cut him off. And it was just, man, it was literally a blast because it was a group of people. Whereas the coon hunting world is very lonely and very by yourself.
It is. And I made a post about that. You know, I don't know when this recording is going to come out, but as of right this second, I made a post about that 2 nights ago, that I was out in the woods by myself training dogs. I got 2 big hunts coming up. And as I was sitting there, I was like, man, like, I'm out here by myself in the middle of the night, and it's just me and the dogs. And while, yes, some nights that's relaxing, for me, as a person who enjoys people and enjoys companionship and enjoys camaraderie, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, you know, I'm training for the hunt where I can go and engage in that camaraderie, in the competition, and feeling that sense of belonging, I guess. But you know, when I went and coyote hunted this weekend with a big group of guys, it's a bunch of guys out there working for one cause. You know, everybody's got a pack of dogs, and their goal is all the same at the end. And you know what? While we had a race going, sitting there listening to the dogs run, I sat in the passenger seat of the truck looking at the big Garmin Tread XL, and I enjoyed myself a nice steak sandwich that Nikki had packed for me for lunch. You know, it was great. So that's the part that I'm really just, I don't know, more and more gravitating to. Is I'll never lose my love for coonhounds and competition. I love it, but I'm also realizing there's a whole lot of people out there who like dogs and are passionate about what they're doing. And if I can engage in that and learn about them, and then, you know, kind of what Chris has done for the last 4 years, tell other people about it.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. And you know, Semper Doggin and Houndsman XP, there's a lot of the same goals and a lot of the same missions. One thing though about Semper Doggin, though, that I think that we need to cover and we need to mention is that, you know, the end goal for all this. Go ahead.
You told me to tell you to pump the brakes.
Yeah,
so.
pump them.
Keep that thought, because you hit on something. You described something that I went through. You know, when I was working and dealing with people all day long, there wasn't anything I could wait for more than to take a hound out and spend time alone out in the field by myself. Yes. I mean, I loved it. I was, you know, we were hunting. I was pounding pups. I was pounding, you know, older dogs. I was doing all this stuff, and I could do it every night. But now my goals have changed and things have changed. And I'm not trying to throw competition coon hunting under the bus, but I've found that there is, when you take a dog out there and there isn't a scorecard, it doesn't matter what I say, how I call the dog, what I think, anything about it. It's that dog versus a bear. It's that dog versus a lion. It's that dog versus this. It's
simplistic.
All of a sudden, you've taken the human factor out of it. Hopefully, I've done my homework ahead, but I'm not I'm not trying to walk you away from your dog that's 0.8 the other way so that I can keep you in earshot of my dog that's 400 yards over here. It's me and that dog, and we're working against something that we can't control at that point, and that's the measure of success. And when you're out there with buddies and friends, I mean, it's awesome. I love it.
For me, it was kind of like a storm for me. And Bryce will know where I'm going at real quick. It was a storm for me. I pushed and pushed and pushed. I probably hit the hunts harder than most.
I didn't have any hunting buddies because nobody could stand to hunt with me.
Yep.
Even when we would go out to hunt together, I was on a mission.
Yes.
We're building this dog. We're making this dog.
And I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and it all come crumbling down at one hunt. And I lost it. I had an unfortunate incident happen to me, and we won't get into it, but I lost my cool. I lost what I love to do, and I lost why I was out there. And so about November, Jeffrey and Tiffany Davis said, "Hey, we want to send your dog back to you." And that's Duncan Hit the Spot. He's kind of doing some things, blah, 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 that we don't want. And we just want to send him back up here. And I brought him back up here. And for about 3 to 4 weeks, all it was just, and Bryce knows what I'm talking about because Bryce has got a picture of me and him and Caddy and Spot went on a killing spree one night. And literally it just brought the fun back. Like I had forgotten what me and my dog really meant. And in this world of uncertainty, in this world of go, 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 in this world of nothing's ever good enough, that dog's always there to let me know that what I do is good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to interject real quick there that, what he was just talking about there, that wasn't a deal that is normal for us. That was a deal where there had been a farmer who had reached out to us and said, "Hey, I have an issue and I need some help right now. Will you please come help us?" And that was somebody from the public who isn't a houndsman, who doesn't have dogs of their own, reached out to 2 people that he knew were houndsmen and he knew had the tools to help him, in the end, let's call it what it is, save his crops. It was a bunch of money that he had. And, we went out on his property that night and helped him out with that. So that's not what it is for us all the time. It's not a killing spree. That's not why we do it.
Like I hardly ever kill any.
Well, I'll tell you what, all these guys that are on Facebook and different places talking about, people are killing too many coons. Well, for one thing, most of the studies are showing that we have more raccoons now than we did pre-settlement before we settled this country. So we've got more raccoons now than we've ever had in the history of this country. Yep. The other thing is, all those old guys that they want to talk about and mentor and show pictures of, they didn't go out and hunt for pleasure. They wanted hides on the wall. So
yes,
I don't know how we've gotten to this point where killing coons is bad. It's not a bad thing. We're not killing enough of them, and I've seen it in my lifetime that disease will sweep through your coon population with distemper, and you'll find dead coons out, and you're not going to tree that one. So you might as well have done your part of scientific-based wildlife management here and taken some of those dudes off the landscape. It'll make for a better dog, just like you said, Basham.
Yep.
You can go to the woods where you can tree 6 in a patch woods, or you can challenge the dog and really stretch his abilities and develop those and make him keen where he's got to work for him. And that ends up with a better dog. Yes.
But bouncing it, being able to navigate. Because if all you ever do is drop him in a dry hole, you're never going to, you're going to get discouraged, and your dog's going to, man, there's been plenty of times where I tell Bryce, I was like, man, I got to take him to a honey hole. He's looking bad. I
got to boost that confidence.
I need my confidence boost. Not
Me too.
Dog. I need my own.
You better believe it, man. It's like right now I've got the worst coon dogs I've ever had in my, I told somebody the other day, I've got the sorriest bunch of coon dogs I've had since I was like 15 years old. I've been bear hunting them. I've been doing all this other stuff. Every place I drop them is a dry hole, and we got coons running over each other. I'm like, what am I doing? I need a coon dog to get my sanity back.
Oh man.
I'm about ready to start trapping them and turning them loose, just to see if they can tree them.
Yeah.
Bryce, what were you saying? Sorry to sidetrack.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was just saying that one thing that I think we do need to mention and make note of is that, Basham and I, we are pipe dreamers. He said that earlier in the podcast. And one of the things that we want to do at this Semper Doggin podcast is give back. And, by doing that, hopefully one day, Basham and I will be able to make a huge impact on several people's lives and doing that in several different ways. So, number one, like on the smallest level, I think something that everybody appreciates in life is recognition, whether they want to admit it or not. I think everybody gets a little sense of pride when somebody recognizes what they've done. And part of that is us partnering up with Hometown Hero Outdoors. And on every episode going forward with the Semper Doggin podcast that we just started on the last one we just released, we're recognizing a hometown hero. It's just it's a short snippet. It's anybody who could be in the military, EMS, first responders. It's just a little thank you to them. And that's through Hometown Hero Outdoors, who's a national organization. So that's the smallest way to give back. And I'll let Basham go into, some other things that we have in mind.
So some of the other things that we have in mind is, obviously I've got a good friend, Brian Harris, down in Eastern Kentucky that puts on giving him a shout out, the Warrior Muskie Hunt. And basically what he does is he focuses it, and this as well as I do, Chris, the 22. And that is, he focuses every April. He does it two times a year. He does a Warrior Muskie Hunt. And so he brings in veterans, and they go out for a weekend. No drugs, no guns, no nothing. Just camaraderie, going out, no drinking, no nothing. Go out on a boat, catch some muskie. He's the guide. He has motivational speakers come in and talk to the veterans, and it's really all geared towards trying to save that 22. They say 22 veterans every day kill themselves, and so we're just, if we can get through to one person, and for us that goes to whether it's sending a veteran on a hunt, or what our ultimate goal would be, once a year pick a veteran that's in need and have a service dog trained for them. And to be able to provide a service dog to a veteran that is struggling, that needs it, or, that, like I said, our ultimate goal is just to give back. I'm a big, as Chris, being yourself, Marine Corps through and through, Semper Fidelis, and I'm getting chills just about what I'm about to say. The brotherhood of a Marine is, and especially the ones that I deployed with, the ones that were deployed with me, the ones that I lost, the fathers that never got to see their kids, the kids that never got to see their fathers. That's who I do it for. That's what drives me, or the buddies that I lost, the friends that I lost, the fathers that I lost, my best friends that I lost. I had a best friend that killed himself in Iraq. And so those are the people that drives me to do what I do. And ultimately, one of these days, I'd like to give back and be able to affect that number.
The oath never expires.
Yes, sir.
It never expires. And
you could, wow, you could not have said it any better. For people that don't even, chills just went down my spine, because people that have never said the oath don't understand the weight that oath carries. You can't fathom it. The weight that it carries on your heart, on your mind, on your soul. You can't fathom what it means to not just say the words, live the words.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are on the right track. That's one of the things that, and I'm not trying to toot the horn of Houndsman XP or me or anything, but we can tell stories. We can, there's only so many stories you can tell, or only so many ways you can tell a story about, striking for 100, getting split and being deep and lonely, and, all these other things. But if we are going to continue to really make a difference, what you guys are doing with the hometown hero, what we've tried to do with freedom hunters, the way we've tried to get involved with, the Colorado thing this year for sure.
Initiative 91, that's been huge.
Yeah. The Initiative 91, the ban on mountain lion hunting, but it's plugging into Sportsman's Alliance. We've got to be able to tell our story and show value from our community if we want to be valued outside of our community.
We've got to stick together.
Yeah. You've got to tell a bigger story. That I'm telling you, man, nobody cares about who the first $100,000 hunt winner was outside of our own little silo. You talked about silos earlier. That doesn't mean anything to the 80% of our population and our culture. But when you start doing things like you're doing, featuring hometown heroes, when you start talking about giving back, when you start talking, that kind of narrative is what it's going to take for us to secure our future.
Yes. Like I picked up from Bryce, from the chairs to the bears, we cover it all.
Yeah.
we do. But I don't want people to think that we are getting away from coon hunting, because we're not. Coon hunting is what Basham and I know. That's what we love. So we are going to have some heavy coon hunting conversations on there. I can't get away from it like that. I just couldn't drop dead.
I don't think we should.
Yeah. I don't either, because I do think it's a vital portion of the segment of Houndsman, because I really do think that some of the things that the competition coon hounds are doing right now and the coverage that they're being given and trying to go for, I think can make a positive impact. They've got the deal right now, the Coonhound Calcutta. They're literally, it's like sports betting on coonhounds. How cool would it be to have that on the main strip in Las Vegas? For me, I'm dead serious. You've got guys who are playing the odds that, like, okay, well, there's something else that we can invest money in, and it brings money. It generates money everywhere. Some people say money's ruining the sport. I don't agree with that. I do think there's a level for everybody, but I do think that within those levels, you have to be smart and play where you can play.
The thing is, 200 years ago, there wasn't any big deal about some dude riding a horse. Everybody rode a horse. That's how we got around. But now, rodeo's big. Where would ranching be without rodeo? And where would rodeo be without ranching? So when we look at that aspect of it, the value of competition coon hunting is the same. Where would the rest of us be without competition coon hunting? If it's you take Autumn Oaks, for example, it's a $12 million weekend or week for the city of Richmond. You think the people in Richmond are happy to see coon hunters come to town? You better believe it.
Oh, yeah.
Hotels are full, restaurants are full. The single mom that's waiting tables for 51 weeks out of the year, man, she makes as much that week as she probably does 2 or 3 months combined the rest of the time. So it's all important.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
It all comes together.
It all makes the Houndsman world go round.
Yep.
And what you've been preaching for a long time is we've all got to stick together. And I see a lot of different, like you said, I hate to call them silos, but that's what they are. I see a lot of different silos, and gosh darn it, I just wish we were all one big grain bin. Like, just put everybody in there and make us together. I see value in everybody having their own niche and their own specialty, because without specialties, you don't further the breeds any.
Right.
But I do wish that people just took the time to understand a little bit more about other people and other disciplines of hounds and dogs in general, because it's been enlightening for me and opened my eyes to a lot of things here in the last few months.
What else we got, guys? I mean, anything else you want to add? This is your farewell to the Houndsman XP community. And
go ahead, Bryce.
No, I think we're good. I said it in the beginning of the podcast. I really genuinely just want to say thank you to everybody who followed along on the Deep and Lonely podcast, because without you guys, none of this would be possible. There would be no Semper Doggin podcast, because I wouldn't even have the platform and the knowledge and the know-how and the network to even start that. So without Chris, the Houndsman XP team, the Deep and Lonely podcast, and everybody who followed along there, none of this would be possible. So I just really want to say thank you. And I genuinely mean that. But I also want people to know that, like Chris said, we are departing from the Houndsman XP. It doesn't mean that we're going up against each other and trying to be 100% better than the next person. It doesn't mean there's any bad blood. There is none of that.
No.
The decision to leave Houndsman XP was talked about between Chris and I. It was mutually agreed upon because we just have some different visions. And while Chris is doing something great, we think we can do something great as well. So we're going to practice what we preach and be on the same team here. And I'm going to uplift them and they're going to uplift us. Hopefully, Chris.
No, I haven't made that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So guys, that's just what we're here for. But let
me throw something in there real quick. When we started Houndsman XP, people started coming out with different podcasts. Nobody was doing hound stuff before we started Houndsman XP. Nobody was laser focused on it. I should say that. And then when a new podcast would pop up, I'd kind of bristle up and be like, the competition side of me started. But then it dawned on me, it's like, man, if we're going to make this thing mainstream, the more you can talk about it and the more people that are out there trying to do this for the right reasons and telling our story, that is good for us. So
it is.
Unless you guys are going to, go totally off the deep end and start talking about, crazy stuff and taking this in a direction, it's not going to hurt us, and I'm talking about whatever evil thing you can think of that you could tie to hounds. So
yeah, and talking to Jason Doobie down at Grand American, he threw out a quote that has stuck with me, and I have tried to apply it to a bunch of different aspects in my life since January. And maybe some of y'all heard it before, but he said, "A rising tide lifts all ships."
Right.
And I have tried to apply that in a lot of different things because maybe I don't know how old that quote is. I'm sure it's been around a long time, but that was the first time I heard it at 29 years old. And that really stuck with me. A rising tide lifts all ships. So I want everybody to come together, subscribe to all the hound podcasts out there. Fill your Spotify with dog related podcasts. Do it. Go for it. But while you're there, make sure you like and subscribe to Semper Doggin because we need your support too. Because we're not going to be on the Houndsman XP feed anymore. So you guys, anybody who listened to us with the Deep and Lonely, you're going to have to do exactly what Chris has been telling you guys about with the Xtreme Performance Outdoor Network. It's a change. You have to go over to Xtreme Performance Outdoor Network. You have to like and subscribe over there on their new platform. And the same with Semper Doggin. I need you to take 2 seconds, search Semper Doggin, no G at the end of Doggin, it's Doggin, and hit the like and subscribe button. That's where we're going to be. We're on all major platforms already. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We're uploading audio files over there. We've got Facebook groups, Semper Doggin Podcast Group. We have all the stuff where you guys enjoyed everything with Deep and Lonely. It's just now Semper Doggin. So just please take a few seconds to go over there and make that change, make that transition.
Just so you know, you don't even have to get to the second G. If you just put in Semper Dog, it's going to auto-populate with Semper Doggin. So you don't even know how to spell it. All right?
Perfect.
Yeah. You can just go right in. I just did the search while we were sitting here talking. You don't even have to get through the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's for all of us non-literate people.
Semper, Semper, dog.
Hey, we're Marines. We eat crayons. We don't spell.
The only other thing, while you guys keep doing your brotherhood stuff, and I appreciate you for the only other thing I want to throw in there, though, is if you guys listening, if you have somebody that you do want to recognize, they don't have to be somebody who's went on a Hometown Hero Outdoors adventure to be recognized. Anybody in your life who is first responder, EMS, military, get a hold of us, semperdoggin@gmail.com, and submit it. And we'd be glad to feature them on one of our podcasts. We are looking for input from all of you guys. And if you want to support somebody and show your love and appreciation for them, that's just another way you can do it.
I'll nominate Heath Hyatt. He's still working every day as a police officer in Christiansburg. And I mean, he's getting close to the end of his career, a few more years, but seriously, I mean, you think about the lifetime that he's put into service.
I agree.
Yep. There you go. That'd be an easy one for you, Bryce.
It would be. I'll make a nice little write-up for him, and we'll feature him on one of the podcasts.
That's right. That's right.
There we go.
But other than that, man, I think I'm good here. Basham,
yeah, I'd like to. Hey, Chris, I'd really like to, give a shout out to you. Bringing us on here. Something that, in all actuality, you didn't have to do. You got two guys that are splitting off from you, and it really takes a guy with a big heart and a guy with, somebody that's not out for his own accord to really look back and say, hey, I'm going to give these guys a farewell podcast. Something that you didn't have to do. We appreciate you more than you can imagine. We thank you for, all the just platforms that you gave Bryce and giving him all of the experience that he needed and giving us, all of the backing that we needed. And we appreciate you for all that.
It's no problem.
Absolutely.
No problem at all. I did it for Josh Michaelis, and I don't even like Josh, so.
Dang, Bryce, what's that say about you?
I know.
I don't know.
Oh,
man.
Chopped liver, I reckon.
Josh is missed on this podcast as well, but no.
You're just a training ground for good podcasters, bud.
Well, that's kind of how I've been with coonhounds too, my whole career. So my lifetime earnings are in the toilet, but you can take the dogs that I've trained, and if I had all the lifetime earnings, I wouldn't have to be doing a podcast.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Getting rich doing this. You guys are going to find all about all that.
No, that definitely ain't going to happen. Like I told you, hey man, for me, it's something that we did down at Winter Classic. And was me and Bryce made it a point to find the old guys. The old guys, you never know. The old guys, this might be their last trip.
I fit that category now.
Yeah, the old guys.
Yeah, Papal.
That's right. I'm proud.
This might be their last trip to Winter Classic, and we sit them down and we try to get those stories, because I'm in that same boat. My father is not in good health, and he's not going to be around that long. And just being able to record, and this right here, to be honest with you, I've had something in my mind for a while. And I'm going to end up doing it. And that is, I'm going to get my father to and I'm going to use the devices that I have that Bryce has shown me now. And I'm going to sit down, and me and him are just going to go over and over and over and over and just tell stories.
That'd be cool.
Those stories that when he's gone, I'm going to wish that I could hear him tell those stories all over again. And I'm going to record them.
Your kids will listen to them. Your brother's kids, your gone. Yeah.
I've got that.
Yep, for sure.
And that's what it's about for me. So if that's all this ever turns into, if there's never any monetary amount, if there's never anything, money comes and goes, and you can't take it with you when you die. So something that means a lot more to me is the value of life. And that's what this is. Man. This is adding value to that.
That's what it's all about. I think a lot of guys think they can start a podcast and all of a sudden all their worries are going to be over.
No, sir.
Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of people playing in the sandbox right now. There's a ton of podcasts out there. It's the new hot trendy thing. It really is. But if you can enjoy doing it and you can make some friends along the way, go for it. Man, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get rich at it.
The adventure of everything is what has kept me going. Tuff's outside. I just heard him. He's probably getting ready to stretch a skunk out in the yard.
Oh boy.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys taking time. I wish you all the best in the world. Stay in touch.
Thank you, Chris.
Make sure that everybody listening to this also does exactly what Bryce said. Check out Semper Doggin. You can find them on Facebook. You guys got an Instagram account?
We do. We do have an Instagram. Yep. I just switched the name over. It was Midwest Houndsman. I switched that over to Semper Doggin the other day.
Yep, Semper Doggin there. Make sure you don't even have to spell the whole thing on your podcast apps. Just put in Semper Dog, and it's going to auto-populate. Push that subscribe button and follow button there. And by the time this one comes out, we're going to be on the new network. So if somehow you found this podcast and you haven't followed the Houndsman XP Podcast or the Xtreme Performance Outdoor Network, make sure you find that and push that button. But other than that, guys, got anything else?
We thank you, Chris.
You bet.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Houndsman XP Podcast. This is a Friday bonus edition. Just like always, keep them in the woods. This is Fair Chase.